Elementary 89. I'm your host for this feature film about Rocky Elementary School. This is a show about the organization of the school, a lot of the school activities, but particularly it's about the people in the school in the year 1989. People who come here each day and make this school tick. Rocky Elementary is currently in the midst of a giant renovation project. And as a part of this renovation project, the Rocky Elementary story is being presented on this tape and will be stored in a time capsule that will be put in a planter in the main entrance to the school upon completion. This time capsule will be opened within 25 years in the year 2014. At that time, there will be a special ceremony and hopefully a reunion to honor this event. Therefore, during this presentation, I'm going to be talking mostly to the people of the future rather than the people of the present. First, a few facts about the school. It opened its doors in 1949 for the first time, and since then has grown in leaps and bounds. Presently, in the year 1989, there are 460 students, grade ECS to grade 5, enrolled in the school with 25 full-time teachers and 24 regular classrooms, 1 learning assistance room, 1.5 resource rooms, and as well there are one half-time counselor, 5 aides and secretaries, and 2 janitors. Let's begin our program with a visit to a school assembly in the gymnasium. All the grades prepared some presentations in connection with the Time Capsule project. It's at this formal assembly that Time Capsule 89 will officially kick off. Join us in the assembly. Here we are at the gymnasium. We're listening to the beginning of the special Time Capsule assembly. Mr. Marshall is just giving the children some directions right now. As you can see, looking around, there's a great number of parents here to attend this special occasion. It being Education Week, it's felt that this would be a timely time to put on our Time Capsule presentations. Mr. Marshall will be our chairman and host of the program this afternoon. He's taught in Rocky Elementary and been principal of the school for 21 years now, and he's served the division 29 years. So just let Mr. Marshall is just now giving some opening remarks, so we'll listen in on them.
His son told his son, and tomorrow on TV, that son, 3 or 4 times down, has got the box, and on the box it says open in 1989. You're going to open it on television and see all these things which are 100 years old. That's a time capsule. Now we are going to make our time capsule. We're not going to use a box, we're going to use a big tube, about 6 feet long, and about that round. We can have your stories, your ideas. We are going to put it into that tube. And in the new entranceway, behind those big pointed roof that you see going up, there will be a planter. You know what a planter is, where we put plants. In the bottom of that planter, we're going to bury the tube. We can't say 100 years, that's a little too long. We're going to say, in the year 2014, boys and girls who are in the school band, and the principal and the teachers, we're going to ask them to take a brick out and remove the tube and open it up and read all the things about 1989. That will be the year 2014. Now, many of you will be farmers, teachers, lawyers, doctors, bank clerks, shop assistants, housewives. You'll have your own families. Maybe somebody will call you and say, how would you like to come and see what you wrote 25 years ago and see the capsule? So what we're going to do today is we're going to try and tell you the things that we're going to put into the capsule. So you'll all know, although in 25 years, I bet you will forget. Right? Okay, first thing we're going to put in is a really short history of our school. And Mrs. Marshall has looked up some history.
Marshall is presently giving some history of the school. Okay?
This school was a log building located where Mill Sinclair High School now stands. It housed about 40 students. However, student population soon outgrew the building and classes were moved to structure was approximately on the site of the present home hardware store. A new 4-room school was built on the present site, that's right here, and opened in 1921 as the Confluence School. Over the years, additions were made, and it continued to operate as a school building until 1962. In 1949, the Rocky School District proudly opened what we know as the West Wing, with 6 classrooms, a science lab, and a library. A few years later, 6 more classrooms and a home economics lab were added to the wood frame structure to complete the West Wing. Rocky continued to grow, and by 1956, a separate brick structure containing 9 classrooms and this gymnasium was built. The Rocky School was now split between 3 buildings: the primary school in the East Wing, the middle, junior, and senior high schools being divided between the Confluence Building and the West Wing. With the Hanlon subdivision opening to the north of town, the school board built a second school in town. Loch Earn opened for grades 1 to 8 in September of 1960, and Henry Rather moved across with the students as their first principal. Progress demanded a new high school, and by 1962, the first phase of Rocky High, now known as Will Sinclair, was ready for operation. Teachers, students, and staff from grades 7 to 12 moved out of the Rocky School. The old Confluence Building was retired to the east corner of the schoolyard, where it later became the school division offices and is now a museum. And the remaining 2 buildings serve the needs of Rocky Elementary from then until the present day.
Tape message on fabulous foods, fashions and fads, terrific toys, sensational singers, raging rock groups, silly sayings and slang, playful pastimes and noteworthy news in 89. Watch carefully, you'll see some of these things today. Pastimes in 1989. Skating, figure skating, roller skating, skateboarding, snowboarding, bicycle riding, horseback riding, swimming, camping, computers, movies, trampoline, TV watching, quad riding, organ and piano playing, marbles, videos, comic reading, Troy Hart, Bruce Springsteen, Roy Orbison, Beach Boys.
Free class giving us some of the fads and fashions of 1989. Let's try to listen in and give you a little education on what it was like in 89.
Jazz caps, spandex pants and shorts, mini skirts, jammers or jams, culottes, bicycle shorts, hair pants, resin swimsuits. The hairstyle.
This is Joan Grant telling you about the hairstyles.
Perm or crimped hair, French braids, feather cut, mohawk cut, crew cut, Nero crew cut, spiral perms, long straight hair, fishtail, braided and ponytail, as well as completely or partly shaved head. Some sayings and expressions.
This is John Mofford going to tell us about some of the sayings and expressions.
Hey man, totally awesome. Bogus. Right on. Up the creek, totally rad. Nerd. Right on, dude. Shoot. Yo, cool dude. Oh, gnarly. Gross. Go ahead, punk. Make my day. Go jump in the lake. Wicked. Excellent work. Phenomenal. Come on. Knock it off. Shrimp. Major. Meatball. How's it hanging? Well, let's celebrate it.
Seeing the grade 2 class now. They're going to tell us a little about the prices of things in 1989. And they're going to tell us about the building, how the construction is coming along on this new renovation. Let's watch Mr. Marshall as he introduces the grade 2s.
And we're also going to tell them a little bit about the building. So first of all, Miss Von Holland's class, grade 2, will tell you some of the price lists that we're going to include in the caption.
Prices for 1989. Milk, 2 liters cost $1.79. Pop, 99 cents. Chips, 95 cents. Chiclet, gum, 55 cents a pack. Double cheeseburger, $2.40. Large fries, $1.10. Sega video game, $179. Nintendo video game, $219. Mountain bike, $170. Skateboard, $65. Ghetto blaster, $100. Walkman, $60. Gasoline, 40 cents a liter. Newspaper, 50 cents a pop. Comic book, 85 cents. Reebok running shoes, $55 a pair.
This is the grade 2 class. It's going to tell us about the buildings that's going on in the school right now.
Our class decided to become reporters. At the end of every week, we discuss what has happened on the building site. Then everybody writes a report. Here are some examples of our writing. On week 1, the workmen started to tear the siding off the school. They started to dig in the side of the school. They got a whole bunch of machines out.
Week 2, they made a big pile of rubble and snow. All the teachers were worried that somebody would hurt themselves, but they put up a fence, and the teachers were relieved. Then they brought a truck of coal in. We did not know what they would do with the coal. On week 4, they started to put cement into some trenches with wood floors. Meanwhile, on the other side of the school, there was a bathroom. They dug a big hole. A crane came and loaded the soil onto some trucks. The trucks took the soil and dumped it. On week 8, they dug up some concrete from the school a long time ago. It is the basement of the school. The school's name was Confluent School. It was the first school in Rocky Mountain.
Week 10, they put a metal door frame up. They put bricks beside it. They put a tarp over the scaffolding. They unloaded the bricks from the big truck. The torch is still going. Week 12, yesterday, the jackhammer made lots of noise. They are bringing in a cement truck where they pour cement in a wheelbarrow. Week 15, the workmen finished the wall on the west side of the school. They finished putting the cement in.
on the noises made by the workmen and the machines. Mr. Marshall is going to put our tape into the time capsule.
Okay, that was a grade 2 class who have been doing weekly news reports on the updated plans of the renovation as it proceeds. 5 class as they're getting ready to tell you a little bit about the fads and fashions now. Day in the life of the student in 1989.
Into the time capsule, but right now we'd like to present a typical Thursday for our class. Most of us travel to school on the bus. When we get to school, we put our stuff in our lockers. Our first class of the day is language arts with our teacher, Mrs. Ford. What are we going to learn today, class? Reading and writing, but not arithmetic. Next, we have French class with Mrs. Marshall.
Bonjour, les amis, comment ça va?
Bonjour, Madame Marshall. Ça va bien. It's recess. We have 5 minutes for a break. Time's up. Recess is over. Next, we go downstairs to Mr. Watson's room for music with Mrs. Bird. Let's warm up our voices. Talk, talk, ting, talk. Time for social. Here comes Mr. Watson. Good to know your work. Everybody. Thanks a lot, Mark. Noon hour. 15 minutes to eat. 15 minutes to play outside. After lunch, our class splits up into 3 different math and science classes with Mr. Hirschmiller, Mrs. Shamber, and Mr. Farrington. Let's have a competition. What's 2 times 4? 24. Math, what's 2 times 4? 24. Math, what's 2 times 4? 24. Aren't we a smart bunch of kids? Yes. Time to switch to science. Whose science projects aren't done yet? Recess, outside everyone. Recess is over. Time for language arts with Mr. Watson. Let's have some choices. Let's do drama. Last class of the day is phys ed with Mr. Farrington. Murder ball! And finally, it's home time.
That's done. You're not dismissed until you're quiet.
This was a typical Thursday for our class. Typical classes on other days would have included health class, library class, art class, and best of all, swimming lessons at the pool once a week. Aren't we lucky to have so many interesting activities at school? Yes! Did I forget anything? Yes! What? CTBS test and switch! And of course, our day wouldn't be complete without the sound of the builders. For the real story of what goes on behind the scenes on a typical day at Rocky Elementary in 1989, you'll have to stick around and read our stories when they open the time capsule 25 years from now.
Well, that was sort of a typical day in the life of a student at Rocky Elementary. These days, I'm sure it'll be changed by the year 2014.
From grade 4, we have 2 things that are going to happen to try and do the future. Mr. Watson's room is preparing some letters. We don't have any of those today, but he's preparing some letters. Students are writing a letter to my future self, which will go in. So those that come back 25 years' time
Greg,
will have
I'll help
good
you with
laughs
that desk in a minute.
and be very interesting to see whether their life has shaped the way they think it will. And Mr. Simcoe's grade 4s and some of the other grade 4 teachers' classes are doing letters on predictions for the year 2014. Maybe we should hear some of those predictions now.
And I'm sure they'll be quite accurate.
Rocky Elementary's time capsule is open in the year 2014. We as grade 4 students will be about 35 years old. We have prepared some predictions which will be sealed in the capsule. Today we would like to share with you a few of our thoughts and predictions for the year 2014.
I think robots will be used to do many routine jobs like vacuuming, clearing a table, mowing the lawn, and making cars. With robots, we will have more leisure time. Sports and recreational activities like swimming, hockey, skiing, and camping will still remain. But who knows? Maybe we will have motorized skateboards and a huge sport like hockey on water.
Computers will affect everyone's life. All students will carry one with them. Homes will be equipped with a central computer room where many tasks can be controlled. At the click of a switch, you may change the thermostat setting in ignorance. You might water your lawn or find out what is or isn't illegal. You'll pick up your mail just by checking at your computer. Voice control computers will turn lights and TVs on and off by simply saying lights on.
Mr. Hirschman's class predicts the following will happen to our community in the year 2014. The average families will probably live in houses hooked together in rows. There will be larger homes for larger families. Larger apartment buildings will be built with more indoor areas like pools, play areas, trees, plants, animals, and game rooms. There will also be more shopping malls. There will be more specialty shops with new inventions to sell. Malls and office buildings will have more parks and malls.
Mr. Hirschman predicts that this will happen to our natural resources. There will not be as many wild animals as there is now. Oil and gas and natural gas will be mostly being used up. New inventions will be made to take place of oil and gasoline. Trees will be cut down faster than they can grow, and more logs, cement, and bricks will be used. The ozone layer that is a problem today will be replaced with scientists will find a way to create a fake layer to cover the hole.
Go ahead.
Transportation will be much easier because of these ideas. The cars will be able to fly as well as drive. Cars will be able to go 250 miles per hour. Cars will have automatic pilots in them. They will not be as expensive. Also, there will be computerized seatbelts. We will be using carbon dioxide for fuel and doing away with pollution. There will be unbreakable glass in case of accidents. Health will be much better in 25 years. There will be a cure for all diseases now. There will also be more operations with lasers. You also can take special pills so that you don't get sick. There will also be robots that will operate on people. People might live to be 80 years old because they are more healthier. They will eat the right foods and exercise because they have more free time to do this. Our final prediction is about school in the future. First, let's meet the principal in 25 years. He's a real neat guy. Friendly. Intelligent. with his mom. It's his very first day of school. The principal greets them. The first day of school, each child gets his very own computer deck. He will do all his work on it for the next 12 years. Notice the finer points of this late model dandy. Soft seat. Push button controls. Power steering. Instant feedback information. And all at the new low price of $1,999.95. Even terms, no interest, no down payment. Now take it for a test drive, kid.
Move out of the way, move out of the way. Move over. Stand away from it.
Put on the helmet. Plug her in. And, a little problem.
Okay.
But there's a lifetime guarantee.
Okay, that's good.
Capsule, the students of Room 15 have put together a collection detailing some popular magicians and favorite sports heroes of our time. As word of this collection spread to many corners of the entertainment world, we were besieged with requests from many famous persons. Everyone was hoping to be included in this collection and wanting to present themselves today to offer their congratulations to Rocky Elementary on this timely event. Because Mr. Marshall would allow us only 2 minutes, we had to turn down many illustrious persons. We have allowed 3 persons to speak. Let us welcome Nikki Six from Motley Crue.
Hey, man. My name is in a time capsule at Rocky Elementary. Cool, man. Cool.
And Ultimate Warrior.
If there was anything like this happen to me to be in your time capsule.
Last but not least, Mr. Lanny McDonald.
Well, that concludes our assembly production for the Time Capsule project. I hope you'll enjoy that listed series of productions and items that were put on by the different grades about 1989. Now we're going to head off to the Grade 2 French Immersion class, and they're doing a little production entitled Peter and the Wolf, better known as Pierre et le Loup. At that time, you'll be able to see our senior class in French Immersion. French Immersion began at Rocky Elementary about 3 years ago, and the Grade 2 class is presently the senior class of French Immersion. So next thing you'll see is Peter and the Wolf, presented by Grade 2 French Immersion, Miss Perry.
Pierre et le Loup. Les acteurs sont Pierre, son grand-père, le oiseau. Il y a un canard, le chat. Il y a aussi des loups et une malade. Il y a 3 elfes et 3 fleurs, et voici les narrateurs. Pierre vit avec son grand-père.
parce qu'il y a des méchants loups. Est-ce que tu aimerais te faire manger?
Je n'ai pas peur des loups.
Le lendemain matin, pendant que le grand-père dort encore, il sort et s'en va dans la forêt. Il apporte une grande corde avec lui.
Je n'ai pas peur des loups et si j'en vois un, je vais l'attraper et l'attacher avec ma corde. Où vas-tu comme ça? Je vais chasser les loups. Ne parle pas si fort, si les loups t'entendent, ils vont venir avec leurs grandes dents et ils vont se manger. Tu parles comme mon grand-père. Moi, je n'ai pas peur des loups. Où allez-vous comme ça? Vous ne savez pas que la forêt est dangereuse à cause des loups. Ça, c'est ce que j'ai dit à Pierre, mais il ne veut pas m'écouter. Vite, vite, sauvez-vous! Il y a un loup qui court après moi! Il va nous manger, vous aussi!
L'oiseau et le canard voient le chat qui passe et grimpe dans une herbe. Derrière le chat, il voit une grosse bête. C'est un vrai loup méchant. Il s'approche lentement.
Vite, les amis, grimpons à l'arbre, nous aussi!
Le chat est déjà rendu dans l'arbre. Pierre grimpe et l'oiseau s'envole. Mais le canard ne vole pas et ne grimpe pas. Mais le loup va le manger.
Oh, j'ai une idée. Toi, oiseau, va voler près du grand loup. Fais attention de ne pas te faire attraper. Et loup, essaie donc de le manger. Tu ne pourras jamais m'attraper.
Pierre prend sa corde et fait un nœud. Il descend sa corde et passe le nœud autour de la queue du loup.
Bravo, bravo. Quelle bonne idée. Tu as attrapé le loup avec ta corde. Il est fâché. S'il s'échappe, il va nous manger tous. C'est certain.
Oh mon petit, tu es encore vivant, ne bouge pas, je vais tuer le loup.
Non, ne tue pas, c'est moi qui a attrapé. Je veux le donner au zoo.
Tu as raison, c'est un méchant loup, mais c'est une belle bête.
Il a attrapé le loup avec sa corde. Je pense que j'ai un peu moins peur des loups maintenant. Et vous? Merci beaucoup. What's to expect that? There's some cookies and juice.
As a part of the Rocky Elementary 89 feature, of course, Rocky Elementary is no exception in using a lot of support services. These support services are generally provided by the Central Division Office here in Rocky. And today we're going to do a quick scan of the building. We're going to travel around and take a look at the facilities and what services it can provide and what it does for Rocky Elementary. So follow as we travel around the office areas and introduce you to some of the people who work here. Here we are in the media storage area. As you can see, there's plenty of films and lots of media materials that teachers make use of, not only at Rocky Elementary, but throughout the division. This is under the control of Carol McKay, as you see her working on the card index over there, and her able helper, Helen Adams. Let's just stroll over to another corner of the media area. Area, of course, also doubles as a meeting room in the far corner. Often the area is loaded with meetings, teachers taking in services and whatnot. Today it's being used by a group of resource room teachers. We're gazing down at the main reception area. Usually this is manned by Merla Pollitt, but she's not here as present. As we swing over to the left, we look at her able assistant, Eva Glover. Eva is works at and also helps teachers in a lot of media ways and a lot of materials ways. She also is an assistant to Merla herself. This is the Deputy Superintendent. I work at his office here, Mr. Al Sain. Al has worked in the division for about 16 years now, and he's been Deputy Superintendent for the last 9 years. He's a real go-getter and an energetic fellow who manages a lot of the special projects which exist in the division, and it would be just too long and too numerous to mention all the committees and projects that he's involved with. Henry Stalmaschuk. Henry is the curriculum coordinator presently. Curriculum coordinator's job is a one-year term. Henry has served as vice principal at Pioneer, and he'll be returning there this fall. So this is May, and he's into his last month term of the office as curriculum coordinator. This is Jean Cobb, Director of Student Services in the division. Jean's in her first year in this role. She's an energetic, enthusiastic, and very academic type person on top of her job. Area at the division office and the accounting services. As you can see, it's a spacious area and well laid out with good equipment, and these people work and are responsible for the payroll and the accounting used by the board members as they have their meetings on a second Tuesday basis. Over here again, the meeting room, it acts as a secondary meeting room for a lot of meetings in the division, and right now they're in the process of a curriculum meeting at the present time, several teachers. Our little tour of the division office. It's only appropriate that we interview the leader of this division area, and that's Mr. Barry Finlater, the superintendent of the Rocky Mountain House School Division. Mr. Finlater arrived in Rocky Mountain House about 5.5 years ago in 1983, and has since that time served the division very capably. He's had 29 years of experience in the educational field. Today we're going to ask him to share his thoughts with you in the future on a few of the relevant topics at this time. Mr. Finlater, you can't help but feel a little proud of some of the accomplishments and growth that have occurred over here in the short time you've been here in the total history of the division. When you think back on that, perhaps you can tell us a little about the things that make you most proud, particularly about Rocky Elementary School and the developments going on there.
Well, thank you, Bill, and I'm pleased to be a part of this, and I am very, very proud of the division as a whole. I think that we've got an excellent group of people working together, a very supportive board, and there are many, many highlights. Looking at Rocky Elementary, I just see it as a school where there's just an extremely dedicated and professional group of people working together. The leadership, I think, is excellent. I think they have students as their number one priority, and when you look at some of the things that they've done, you know, the level system, of course, gets lots of discussion. It's certainly been something that I'm sure is going to be reviewed from time to time, but what it does say, though, it's indicative of a group of people that are interested in kids and putting the best program together. So that's a real highlight for me, is just to watch that school do as well as it does.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Barry, you're as excited as the rest of us at the school about the renovations going on and what we see in the future as great advantages for everyone involved, and a really exciting time for us all. Now, if in your opinion, what do you see as maybe a couple of the key educational advantages for ourselves in the immediate future and for the people, maybe perhaps 25 years from now?
Yeah, I am excited about that. It is an overall modernization program that's had its heartaches, that's for sure, but I think educationally it's going to make a real difference. Trying to focus just on a few, I think the overall learning environment itself will be its greatest feature. I think that we're going to have in it more natural light. We're going to have some facilities that are going to definitely be carefully designed for learning. There will be murals on the wall, things that kids will recognize as being important, so when they want to come to school, they're going to learn, and the people that work there will have the same feelings. So if there's an overall key thing, I think it's that one. Now, specifically beyond that, I like the idea of a library in the middle of a school, a modern library that affects every student and every teacher in the school, and I think we're going to improve an already great library program with facilities to support. The computer room is exciting. You mentioned the year 2014. It'd be interesting to be there at that time and look back.
Right.
But just to have a lab, it'll be our first lab in an elementary school where kids can get time and instruction can occur on some of the technology that's new. That's going to be a feature. The new music room, I think it'll be much broader than just music and drama and special events that occur. It's going to be a large, acoustically pleasant area to work in, and it'll have many, many things. The admin area is going to bring the school together. The staff can plan. Their communication will be better, and I think that in itself is going to add. And then just the general improvement in just overall facilities. I think you're going to like working there.
Oh, I think so too, Barry. And you mentioned the beautiful atmosphere and the educational advantages. I know that we're planning programs right now that should take advantage of those facilities, we hope. And it's really hard to imagine perhaps people 25 years from now will look back and say, boy, were those guys outdated. Well, this is an exciting time for us, and this is we feel we're updating things just a little.
You bet, yeah.
Barry, one other thing, a more serious note maybe, every era has faced its new challenges and its new issues. If you could focus in general, not only for this division, but educational issues of a sort that we face presently in this division and throughout the province, I suppose.
Probably the one that comes to mind first province-wide, Bill, would be all of the implications attached to the new 1988 School Act. It's based on three major fundamental parameters, I guess: the focus on the student, the focus on parents, and the need to blend. And I think the implications coming out of that is going to develop a new partnership. I don't know that schools and school divisions are quite ready, nor are all the other partners to take all of those, but I see school councils forming as a new dimension. I think the attendance tribunals to try to better deal with some of the attendance problems that we've had, some of the special education appeals that will occur provincially that are part of that new act are just some of the things. As a part of that has been the curriculum revisions as well. Very recently, the secondary education review has occurred, and if you just look at how those courses are changing and how students at high school level, it's much beyond the grade 5s leaving Rocky Elementary, but they're going to be asked to choose courses more carefully. There's going to be a more heavy emphasis on core subjects, and it'll be interesting to look back and see just whether or not those issues have really developed the way I think they will.
Good. Barry, I think people are pretty well aware from just the way you talked here and mentioned things that you're pretty well up on educational matters, but I know that in the future they'd want to know a little about this guy personally. Mm-hmm. I can say for a fact that he's a pretty busy guy, pretty aggressive, quite a risk taker in education, and this division kind of leads the way in a lot of ways throughout the province in sponsoring educational programs. Barry, though, you must take a little time out for yourself. What are some of your favorite pastimes?
Okay. Well, I'm not sure about risk taker and leadership. I recently fell off a roof, landed on my head, and I'll be operating with one eye in the future. So to some degree, my personal life has certainly been affected by that, but that's a very small part. I'm interested, Bill, in people. What I find I enjoy outside of work are associations with others. I'm a very strong family person. I have two daughters that have currently been nominated, if you can believe, for the Edwin Parr Award. They'll both be in the same zone, so one has to beat the other, so that'll be exciting. And a son just leaving high school, and I want to watch their future with great interest. That's a priority for both Dawn and my wife and myself. I'm interested in athletics. I continue to play racquetball. I'll see how that works with one eye shortly. We enjoy walking. We enjoy reading. We enjoy some kinds of music, not all the music that our whole family enjoys, but those are some of the things that are really of interest. What we really like to do is travel, and to, like many people do, and we've been lucky enough to do a lot of traveling and enjoy climates warmer than this. We've had 3 years in Europe, and that's kind of whetted our appetite, I guess, to different places. So our interests, fall within many of those areas.
That's good, Barry. I noticed that he didn't mention his golf, and his golf game is perhaps one of his lesser priorities, and I can understand why, but maybe someday we'll get a video of your golf swing, and the rest will let us understand.
That'll be great.
Just to end our little interview here, Barry, we'll give you the opportunity here to give a little special message, particularly to the citizens of Rocky Elementary in the year 2014. What would a superintendent say to those people, I suppose?
Well, as a superintendent who started his school life in Rocky Elementary in grade 1, went through all of my first 12 years, graduating from that building in 1958, and now I look back, many years later at what the building will be. I guess my message to the group in 2014 would be to hopefully have other people who've enjoyed these new facilities, these new programs and challenges, and can look back on their time in our modernized Rocky Elementary with the same degree of fondness, the same degree of support about the beginning that it's had in life. As a superintendent, I think I do enjoy the opportunity of working with youth, and I think that is just the greatest challenge and greatest opportunity. And I just hope some of the people in 2014 will still find me wherever I am and tell me how it's been in the years come by.
Great. Thank you, Barry. I'd like to thank Mr. Finlater for the positive comments and his insightful views of education. Now we're going to drop back over to Rocky Elementary and have another look at some kids. We're going to look at a grade 1 French immersion class and a little drama and dance on their part. And we're going to visit some grade 5s as they do a little poetry and skits. Mademoiselle Cloutier's grade 1 classroom, French immersion classroom, and we're delighted to watch the performance they're going to put on entitled Chantons Dansons. I don't think that's pronounced right, but at any rate, it's a sing and dance program provided by the classroom, and let's sit back and enjoy the special presentation.
Well, good morning, everyone. The kids from my classroom put up a little show that they would like to present to you this morning. But first of all, they would like to welcome you in.
Bonjour les amis, bonjour. Bonjour les amis, bonjour. Bonjour les amis, bonjour les amis. Bonjour les amis, bonjour.
Once upon a time, in the class of Madame Cloutier, there was
Capsule.
and there was.
His feet.
Well, while the girls were having fun all together, the boys were crying. They were crying very loud. So Amanda had a very good idea.
Jenny did.
Let's see what it's all about.
Ne pleure pas qu'elle est. Elle est boum boum boum, elle est boum boum boum. Ne pleure pas qu'elle est. Tu auras une amie. Tu auras une amie. Je te présente Christine. Elle est boum boum boum, elle est boum boum boum. Je te présente Christine. Christine est ton amie. Christine, Christine, Christine est ton amie. Ne pleure pas, Graham. Elle est boum boum boum, elle est boum boum boum. Ne pleure pas, Graham. Tu auras une amie. Tu auras une amie. Je te présente Daniel. Elle est boum boum boum, elle est boum boum boum. Je te présente Daniel. Daniel est ton ami. Daniel, Daniel, Daniel est ton ami.
So, Kellen met Christine, and Graham met Danielle, and then Richard met Crystal, and Jordan met Jennifer. So now all the boys were very happy, and they were having fun all together. They were having so much fun that they decided to organize
Une danse.
in a party? Really? Well, let's get busy, kids, and organize this party. So the kids decided to organize a party and to bring a lot of food to this party. First of all, they brought
Fruits et légumes. Oh, les fraises et les framboises, les pommes, les bananes, les carottes, les haricots. Moi, j'aime les fruits. Moi, j'aime les légumes.
So they had fruits and vegetables, and then they decided to bring also
Les céréales. Le bon pain, les céréales.
Well, thank you very much to Mademoiselle Cloutier's class. What a terrific bunch of performers. And Rocky Elementary, of course, is noted for its terrific performers. We're in Mrs. Simcoe's class now, and they're presenting a special poetry presentation to us. Let's join our narrator, Michael Evans.
During the early years of developing the land, people homesteaded or squatted on government or free lands. This is a poem showing the solitary, hard life of the squatter.
Round the lone clearing, clearly the whitethroats call. Across the marge of dusk and the dew falls coolness.
Far up in the empty amber and apple green sky, the nighthawk swoops and twangs her silver cord.
No wind's astir, but the poplar boughs breathe softly. The smoke of a dying brush fire stings the air.
The spired dark spruces crowd up to the snake fence, breathless, expectant till the rising of the moon.
In the wet alders where the cold brook flows murmuring, the red cow drinks. The cowbell sounds tonk tonk.
From his cabin door, the squatter lounges forth, sniffs the damp air, and scans the sky for rain.
He has made his meal, fat bacon and buckwheat cakes, and ruddy brown molasses from Barbados. His chores are all done. He seats himself on the doorsill and slowly fills his pipe and smokes and dreams.
He sees his axe leaning against the birch logs. The fresh white chips are scattered over the yard.
Here's his old horse nosing the hay in the log barn, roofed with poles and sheathed with sheets of birch bark.
Beyond the barn he sees a buckwheat patch, its pink-white bloom pale gleaming through the twilight.
Its honey fragrance breathes to his nostrils, mingled with the ting of the brush fire smoke thinly ascended.
Deepens the dusk, the white throats are hushed. And the nighthawk drops down from the sky and hunts the low-flying night moths.
The squatter is dreaming vagantly. He plans how, come winter, he'll chop out another field just over the brook.
He'll build a new barn next year, a barn with a haymow. No more to leave his good hay outside in the haystack.
He rises and stretches. Goes in and closes the door. And lights the lamp on the table beside the window.
I'm Mrs. Simcoe, and I would like to introduce the people who did the marvelous sound effects in the poem. First of all, we have Tony Mayers and Aaron Livingston and Byron Pabahushji, Carson Evans, and Christine Bagstead. and we'll see you in 25 years.
Browse around to the various classrooms and have a look in, see some of the people who make the school go. And we're going to start with our unofficial headquarters here, the main office, the real brain center of the school. And this presently is our main office while the renovation is going on. As you can see, 4 people live in this office: the principal, Mr. Marshall, myself, Mr. Simcoe, and then we have the secretary and her official assistant and aide, Mrs. Ketchen. Jean Ketchen operates as an assistant in the office and works with Mary, typing letters and doing all assistant work to her. She also helps students who have speech therapy and runs special little programs like the milk program for the school. Over on the right here is our main secretary. That's Mrs. Carpenter, Mary Carpenter. Mary is really the real central brains behind this whole organization. She knows where everything is and where things go, and keeps a marvelous track of all the special little duties and projects we have going here. When Mary is missing, we're in a lot of trouble. She's here today and we're in good shape.
Jane, you could come here for a minute, please.
This is the Learning Assistance Room at Rocky Elementary. It's capably manned in the background there by Miss Kathy Budd, and over on the right-hand side by Mrs. Edna Humphrey. As you can see, the students receive a lot of personal attention here to help with their learning difficulties, and some students come here for most of the day. Other students come and go to the regular classroom from this one. Okay, right now Kathy's working with a student named Shane Thompson, and behind him is Aaron Dory. Here we are in the grade 2 classroom of Mrs. Moorhouse. As you can see, we've just begun the day, and the kids are reading their books, getting themselves warmed up. It's a warm-up activity for the day as they read their storybooks. The teacher of this classroom is Mrs. Moorhouse, and Mrs. Moorhouse has taught at our school for many, many years, approximately 19 years now, at various grade levels and all sorts of different positions in the school. Right now she's working with a couple of students on the reading over in the corner there. Okay. Good. I'm going to talk to a couple of grade 2 students now from Rocky Elementary, and we're going to ask them their impressions of what it's like being a student at the school. First to my left is Willie Berger, and directly beside Willie is Candace Diebold. Willie, what's it like being a student at Rocky Elementary?
I hate the noise. It is very hard to do our work at school.
Okay, Candy.
Well, it's a really fun school, and you should always have fun at this school.
Okay. What do you like best about the school, Willie?
I like being in Mrs. Von Holland's grade 2 class best because she makes learning fun.
And Candace, what's your favorite?
I like the equipment outside, and most of the people here are nice.
Oh, that's good. That's nice, Candace. Now listen, guys, you know the renovation's on, and when you come back to school next fall, it's going to be a new building, isn't it? What do you think you'll like best about the new building, Willie?
I will like the new library best because it will be bigger.
Candace, what are you going to like best about the new school?
I like the new gym and the new library and the new music room.
Okay, good. Now listen, you guys know you're talking to kids 25 years from now in the year 2014, eh? And you'll probably have passed from grade 2 by that time, right? Okay, and now tell me something. What would you like to say to those kids in the future?
I hope you have as much fun in school as I did.
Okay, that's a nice message. And what would you like to say to them, Candace? Just talk right into the camera there.
This could be one of the best schools that you could ever go to in this town.
Okay, that's great. That's Candace Diebold and Willie Berger we were talking to from grade 2 at Rocky Elementary. We're now visiting Mrs. Charlton's grade 1 class. School has just begun this morning, and the students are reading at their desks as they wait for the opening lesson to begin here. As you can see, some of them are taking a quick peek at the camera here while they read their books. Some are a little nervous. In the background, we have Mrs. Charlton. Marlene Charlton has taught at our school for approximately 16 years now. She's just talking to a student there in the background right now. Okay, that's Mrs. Charlton's grade 1 class. That's good. We are peering into the staff room and all-purpose room at Rocky Elementary. This is a staff room that is kind of temporarily arranged, and there can be as many as, 10 or 12 people in there at one time during a coffee break. Right now, it's the headquarters of Sharon Sorvisto, a teacher aide at the school. Sharon has done many different aide duties throughout the school, in fact, working in the library as a library assistant there and helping in the main office. And now she's basically helps with main office duties and with preparation of teacher materials for the classroom. This is the Rocky Elementary gym presently. In the background you can see that there's a little construction going on the other side of the wall where the renovations are on. And the students presently are working at different stations in groups in the classroom. That's Mrs. Marshall who's teaching them. And as we roll around, we see some students up on the climbing frame. And over here, some more students on the climbing frame over here. These are grade 1 students that we're watching right now. Here we are in Mr. Hirschmiller's grade 4 classroom. Currently they're in their math science grouping, and they appears to be working on their math, something to do with graphing as it appears. Students are quiet and working very hard, as they always are in this classroom. Directly in front of me here, that's Twyla Scott there. We're focusing on Twyla. Would you wave to the camera? Okay, that's Twyla. And now we'll swing around over here. And I see that's Jolene working very hard there. Jolene, back row there. We see Wyatt and Eddie way in the far back there. Wyatt and Eddie, take another look at the camera there, guys. Okay, that's Wyatt Calvert and Eddie Bagstad. And as we come around here, it looks like Kelsey up here. Kelsey. And there's Dustin McDonnell, okay? And we're coming around here to Mr. Hirschmiller. Mr. Hirschmiller has been in our school about 20 plus years, I think. 19, something in that area. And he's working with a student, and that's David Volstar he's working with. Hi, David. Okay, we don't want to bother them too much. They've got work to do, and we don't want that work to become homework. How about everybody here just say, hi, kids, to the students in 25 years. 1, 2, 3.
Hi, kids.
Here we are. We're presently in Mrs. Dorothy Von Holland's grade 3 class, and Dorothy has been at our school for the past 7 years, and they have a little special presentation for us here. They're going to sing O Canada, and as well as sing it, they're going to give us a song with sign language. This ought to be real good. That's a special thank you to Mrs. Von Holland's grade 3 class. We're now presently in Mrs. Stelmaschuk's grade 3 class. She's in the progress of a reading lesson, a language lesson with her students at grade 3. Let's focus in for a minute on her lesson with the students.
Sign language. Deaf people use what? Signing.
Rocky Elementary is a school that up to now has used a levels system. That means there's 2 different main groups in the classroom. She's currently teaching to one half of the classroom. In the background, you can see students who are working on projects who are involved in the other level of the classroom, the other group.
And number 1? What do you have for number 2?
I'm with Michael Thompson. He's a grade 3 student at Rocky Elementary. And I'm going to ask him a few of his impressions and ideas about the school. Michael, What's it like being a student at Rocky Elementary?
It's fun because you get to do different things and you get to go on neat field trips.
Great. So those are your favorite things, eh?
Yeah.
What do you like best about the school?
Well, that it's getting a bigger library, and we'll have a new part of a new wing on the school, and it'll be much more cleaner.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Michael, now you're talking to students in the year 2014, let's pretend, eh? And I want you to look in the camera, and if you have a special message for them, what would you tell those students that are going to be watching this 25 years from now?
Well, I would like to say that I hope that the Teddy Grahams and the movies like Rambo, Short Circuit, and Ninja Turtles are around in the year 2014.
I'm sure they'll enjoy those movies, and I'll bet there'll be a lot of other new movies around that you'll enjoy then too, right, Michael?
Right.
Okay. That was Michael Thompson from grade 3. Thanks, Michael. We're working with Mrs. Ford, the grade 5 students. We'll swing around from the left here and name those students. Here we have Lisa Foster on the end, and next to her is a girl named Selena Green. The boy with the glasses there is Mark Brown, and next to him is Toby Chow, and right next to him is Tanya Hunley. And there's Mrs. Ford giving directions. Mrs. Ford's been a teacher at our school for about 10 years. And there's Erin Magnus. And on the far end here we have Angela Berger. Appears the students are preparing some sort of play or reading presentation from their reader. Sister Margie McDonnell, who is with us now in her resource room. She's a resource room teacher at Rocky Elementary. She also teaches French, and she teaches a little health. And when she has a little time on top of that, she's also our guidance counselor at the school. Sister, I'm pleased to have you on our little program today.
Thank you.
Tell me, in your 4 years at Rocky Elementary, what are some of the things you've enjoyed, or what are your impressions of Rocky Elementary?
Well, I really like Rocky Elementary. The things I enjoyed the most was the variety at the school. Like I teach special ed, French, health, and I do some counseling. So always meeting new people, new faces, which I like very, very much.
Thank you, Sister. And as you know, we've been all going through some tough renovation work here. What is it you look forward to when the school is completed in the new facilities?
Quiet when teaching and no hammering or sawing. Also, I'm looking forward to a very cheerful classroom, carpets, lights, and nice, quiet, soft atmosphere. Happy atmosphere. Yes.
Good. Thank you, Sister. And now, Sister, if you have the opportunity to talk to the citizens and the staff 25 years from now in Rocky Elementary, if you had any special thing to say to them, what would you like to tell them?
Oh, I hope we'll devise methods in education so that school will become a lot more fun and the kids will look at it as a place where it's a great place to be.
I'm sure that's what it'll be like 25 years from now. Thank you, Sister, for joining us on our program.
Thank you.
Today we're going to take a look at the new construction in the school. We're going to see some of the building that's going on and what stage the building's at presently. Right now I'm standing at what will be the main entrance to the school on the west side of the school, and I'm standing beside the planter that is partly in construction right now, but will greet people as they come in with plants in it. And directly under this planter is where the time capsule will be situated. So this video will be placed in there amongst many other materials that the students have prepared and pictures that we've taken. And I know that as you watch this video that you're going to be, this planter will be quite different than it is now in the process of construction. Let's just wander over here. And over in the background there, I'm going to call over the clerk of the works, Harry Voth. Harry is representative of the school division, and he oversees the job from the school board's point of view. Harry, at what stage of construction are we at now, if you had to estimate?
Well, the entire structure is up and it is in place now. We have nearly all of the roof in place to seal the building off.
Good.
So we're just about all watertight now, and our trades are all on site. They're all working, and we've probably got, 35 men on site.
I see. Good.
working in the construction here.
Good. Are we a third done, a quarter done, a fifth? Or am I putting you on the spot?
That's kind of a tough question. We're probably approaching the halfway mark, I would say,
great.
Bill.
Great. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Harry, for joining us.
You're
and
welcome.
Good luck in the construction.
Yep. Have a good day.
Yep. Here we are in the computer sciences room. As you can see, it's got a ways to go before it's completed. Computer will, of course, be an important, a new integral part of our program at Rocky Elementary next year when we introduce it at grade 3 to the language arts program. Right now, it's kind of doubling as a storage area and a work area for the workmen. As you can see, it's quite a spacious room, and it'll be built with terminals and electrical outlets specially designed for a computer room. We're just shooting down the main hallway that'll connect the west wing and the east wing of both buildings together. It's a little dark down there, and as you can see, again, in the middle of construction. However, the walls are now up, and beginning to feel like one unit as a school right now. As we swing over to our right, we're looking into what will become the music room. Large, spacious area, and again, it's difficult to see what it will be like because it's right now, of course, being used for a storage area. But we're now looking at the main west entrance to the school. A couple workmen up there putting some finishing touching on insulation and baseboarding there. That'll be the main entrance, the front entrance, where most people will use as an entrance to the school. It'll be the public entrance. Directly over to our right here, we're swinging around where the administration offices will be and the staff room to the far west corner of the school. They're working on the exterior of the school. They're replacing the whole exterior altogether all the way around the school. As we swing around, you can see where the old building now joins the new structure there, and that little wide open area there is part of the library, and that'll be a little window nook that'll face out the east side of the school. We swing around, we see some of the construction vehicles and kind of blocked off from the music room, which will be next to the room, and now we're back into the old wing again. This is the east wing of the school, west wing of the school, and the east corner of that. Okay, and of course the exterior is all being worked on at this stage while the children are at school, and during the summer when school is dismissed in another month, they'll be working on the interior of all those classrooms. Members of the committee, they've just begun a meeting here in one of the classrooms at Rocky Elementary. We're focusing on Mrs. Kathy Ramage, who is the secretary of the PAC committee. Next to him, of course, is Mr. Marshall, who comes to all the parent advisory committee meetings. And there's Mrs. Green, who's just opening the meeting, talking to parents. Next to Mrs. Green is Mr. Ralph Jostime. Next to Mr. Jostime is Bets Carriatsamari. And we're focusing now on Laura Kemp Hansen, who's doing some speaking right now. And directly in front of us here is Marcel Bodigal. And we'll swing around to the immediate left here. And this here is Betty Murphy we're focusing on. And next to her is Mary Mofford and Laurie Allen and Janet Graff, who is an interested parent. At all meetings, parents are allowed to come if they have an interest in the affairs of the school. And next to her is Denise Boniface. And finally, the last member of the committee, seated on the far left, is Marlene Calvert. Of course, the committee itself has been organized, and they dwell on with a specific agenda at each meeting, and they provide their input and information to Mr. Marshall, and he then takes what they have to say to a board meeting or to the staff for improvements to the school. This is the final segment of our program, and perhaps it's the best part of our program, and I'm referring to an interview with the principal, Mr. Alan Marshall of Rocky Elementary School. Alan has served in the Rocky Mountain School Division for the last 29 years, 21 years at Rocky Elementary. That's 2 decades, and over that time he's been the chief administrator and principal of the school. I speak on behalf of all the staff and parents and all the people involved in the school in saying that Mr. Marshall is not only an expert administrator, but he's also an excellent friend to have, and he's shown a lot of empathy and kindness to all of us on staff through good times and bad times, and that's what a leader's for, I suppose. At this time, Ellen, I'm going to ask you a few questions about the school, and what are a couple of your favorite memories of Rocky Elementary over that time?
Well, it's difficult to pick out just two memories, Bill, because there have been many during those years. But I suppose I will always recall from Rocky the fact that we've always had just tremendous parent support and terrific staff support. I think parents have always supported our programs, whether they've been academic programs. They've got behind our organisation in having an achievement grouping system. They've got behind our program in outdoor lab camps. They've given us tremendous supports in field trip programs. And it's been that parent support, that community support, which I think leads to some very happy memories of the last 20 years. And of course, to do that, you've always had to have a good staff. There have been quite a few people that have been through the school during that time. And many of them I still have personal contact with, and so it's nice to have made not only professional colleagues but friends. And I think Rocky will always be home, and Rocky Elementary will always be the favourite place.
Ellen, every generation of teachers and administrators have faced issues and challenges. If you had to pinpoint a couple of these issues and challenges in the year 1989 or the immediate future, what would you call or refer to as a couple of immediate challenges that not only the school faces but education in general, I suppose?
Yes, I think one that education generally faces, and one that we're facing up to now, is the introduction of the new technologies. And of course, as you know, in this coming year, with the new school building, we'll have our first computer lab. We've been running with computers in the school for several years, but they've been standalone units in the various classrooms. Now, for the first time, with the 28-place Macintosh laboratory, we'll be looking at introducing for students at the grade 3 level the art of keyboarding and using the word processing package. Now, I don't believe we're the first school to do this, but we're certainly one of the first, and I think our challenge is to not only introduce children to the skills of keyboarding and using the word processing package, but to be able to integrate those into the language arts program generally. And that's going to be a challenge which is going to take us several years to work out, and I look forward to that challenge. I think the second challenge, which we're well into now, is of course the French immersion program. This is the end of our third year in French immersion. It's been quite a controversial program within the town, and it was something which I had very little idea about when I got into it, and I travelled on faith alone. I feel a lot more confident now when I see the grade 2 students that we have and the facility with which they're using the French language after just three years. That, I think, is a really good program, and I think the challenge will now be to make sure that our school is really a 4-stream entry, but with a dual track program, one in English, one in French, and making that work for the local community. There's a third challenge, I think, and that is that we need to, along with going into the academic program, we also need to keep our extracurricular programs going. And I think the advent of the upgrading of our gym and the new music program should allow us to see our choir programs, our sports programs pick right back up again. And we're looking forward to having the local community come in and use those facilities in the evenings as well.
Good, Al. You've touched on a couple of these things already. Earlier in the program, we've looked at the renovation of the school and some of the new construction that's going on here. Alan, if you could point out maybe one big advantage you see forthcoming when the renovation is completed, not only for our generation, but I guess for the year 2000.
Yeah. Well, the computer lab I've already mentioned, and moving into that area. We're also getting a new library out of it. This school has for many years now had an excellent library. When I came here, it had an excellent library. It was one of the first. in 1967 to have a library as part of Parkland Regional Library. It was very well set up and it was well staffed. During that time it's operated out of 3 classrooms which have been joined together by knocking the odd wall out here and there. Now for the first time we're going to have a really first-class library. It's going to be a library which is going to be very attractive to students. It's going to have an equal English and French component, and we're looking at some $20,000 in French materials into that library alone in the next year. It's a library which has a loft. It has a sunken reading pit. It has a beautiful big bay window for the children to sit in and read. I think it's going to be a real boost to make sure that library facilities are still important. So it's not just going to be computers and television. I think there's going to be a boost to our complete educational program.
Good. I think I've heard Ellen mention this before, just the aesthetic beauty and the added beauty of the school itself will raise a lot of spirits of the kids and the teachers and make education just a real happy experience for everyone. And I know Alan and myself and the rest of the staff are really excited about the forthcoming year when it's all completed. I can tell you that Mr. Marshall is an avid outdoors man. He has many interesting hobbies, many interesting travels that he's been on. And Alan, you live a really exciting and interesting life. Would you just tell the people in 2014 what are some of your favorites?
Okay, well, yeah, I do like the outdoors, and one reason for making Rocky home for a long time has been that it's in an ideal position to take advantage of the cross-country skiing and the downhill skiing west of Rocky Mountain House. And I hope in the year 25 there will probably be equally good cross-country skiing available and good hiking up in the Pipestone Valley and the Siffleur and up in the Clyde River area. I hope those areas will still be the good, beautiful wilderness that will warrant people taking 2- and 3-day backpacking trips, which I've been able to enjoy. Besides that, I enjoy traveling, and it's been a great pleasure to me to be involved in exchange programs. You well know, Bill, that I've had several exchange students that have come to live in my home, Japanese students, over the past few years. And last year, Nanette and I were lucky enough to take 15 students back to Japan for the first exchange program, an in-home exchange program. That is entering its second phase this year, and perhaps in 25 years' time when this tape is looked at, I hope those exchanges with our sister town of Kamikawa in Japan will still be going on. And students will still be getting together, even though they can't speak each other's language particularly well. Perhaps by then they will be able to understand each other a great deal better. But there's still a lot to be gained, and I hope those exchange programs will be continuing successfully at that time.
Good. I can also tell you Alan is an avid squash and racquetball player. He hasn't mentioned that. Some of his competitors tell me that maybe he needs a little more practice. He's also into that sort of side of sports, the fitness sides as well. Finally, Alan, to conclude our program, I'm going to give you the opportunity to give a special message to the administration, to the students, to the general public of Rocky Elementary in the year 2014. What would you like to say to them?
Well, I hope that in the year in 2014 that you will be as lucky as Bill and I have been to have a small town, a friendly town, a supportive town, and a great bunch of students to work with. And I'm sure Rocky Elementary will still be leading the way in the year 2014.
Okay, thank you, Alan. I'd like to also mention that, Rocky Elementary has a vast tradition and a great long-time history. I've been happy to be a part of it for 17 years myself. I'd like to point out that it's through the efforts of Mr. Marshall and his leadership that a lot of the success and a lot of the rewards that come from the school have come directly from him. Without his leadership, I don't think Rocky Elementary would be, I can't visualize it being half as successful as it has been. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
I'd like to just also conclude our program. This is the final segment of our program by saying that it's been just a whale of a good time shooting all these things. We haven't been a professional organization about it, but I think that the people who watch this, I hope, will enjoy it, and that it'll be an educational experience for them. And I hope that we've kind of given you a feeling of what Rocky Elementary is all about in 1989 and what it has been about in the 80s. So long.